What if your heart is actually in much better shape than you have been led to believe? What if the anxiety you feel every time you notice an unusual heartbeat or get slightly winded climbing stairs is based on fear rather than facts? We spend so much time worrying about everything that could possibly go wrong with our hearts that we completely forget to notice all the signs that things are actually going right. Today, I'm going to share 9 scientific signs that your heart may be stronger than you think. Sign number 5 surprises most cardiologists because it seems to have absolutely nothing to do with heart health, but research shows it may be one of the strongest indicators that your cardiovascular system is thriving. Clarence is 72 years old and lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. For years, he was absolutely convinced that his heart was failing. Every irregular beat sent him into a spiral of anxiety. Every moment of breathlessness climbing stairs made him certain something terrible was happening inside his chest. Every news story about heart disease convinced him his time was running short. When he finally gathered the courage to get a comprehensive cardiac evaluation, his cardiologist told him something that changed his entire perspective on his health. The doctor said, "Your heart is stronger than many people 20 years younger than you." Clarence had spent years terrified of a problem that did not exist. Sign number 1. You recover quickly after physical effort. If your heart rate returns to normal relatively quickly after exertion, this is one of the best indicators that your cardiovascular system is functioning excellently. This measurement, called heart rate recovery, tells cardiologists more about your cardiac health than many people realize. A heart that can accelerate when you need it to and then slow down efficiently when the demand is over is a heart that is working exactly as it should. This responsiveness shows that your entire cardiovascular control system is intact and functioning properly. The American Heart Association has confirmed that heart rate recovery is a powerful predictor of overall cardiovascular health and longevity. The Cleveland Clinic documents that a drop of 15 to 20 beats per minute within the first minute after stopping exercise indicates excellent cardiac conditioning. This quick recovery shows that your autonomic nervous system is communicating effectively with your heart muscle. When you climb stairs or walk briskly, your heart speeds up to deliver oxygen. What matters is what happens next. A strong heart begins slowing down almost immediately once you stop. If your heartbeat returns toward normal within a minute or two, your heart is demonstrating efficiency every single time. Mildred is 68 years old and lives in Tampa, Florida. She noticed that after climbing the stairs in her home, her heart would calm down within about 90 seconds. She mentioned this to her doctor, almost as an afterthought during a routine checkup. Her doctor became notably interested and explained that this quick recovery was actually a very positive sign about her cardiac health. He told her that her heart was responding exactly the way a strong, well-conditioned heart should respond. Here is a simple test you can do yourself. After a brisk 5-minute walk, count your heartbeats for 15 seconds and multiply by 4. Wait 1 minute and count again. If your heart rate dropped by 15 or more beats, that is an excellent sign of cardiovascular fitness. Sign number 2. You can climb stairs without stopping. The ability to climb 2 or 3 flights of stairs without needing to stop and rest is a simple but remarkably powerful test of cardiac health that doctors have used for decades. Stairs demand that your heart rapidly increase its output to supply your leg muscles with the oxygen they need for the climb. If your heart can meet this demand without forcing you to stop, it demonstrates real functional capacity that matters for your daily life and your longevity. A major study presented at the European Society of Cardiology in 2020 followed more than 12,000 participants and found that people who could climb 4 flights of stairs in less than 1 minute had significantly lower cardiovascular mortality. The Mayo Clinic regularly uses stair climbing tests as practical indicators of cardiopulmonary capacity because they simulate actual demands you face in daily life. This matters because your heart needs reserve capacity beyond what is required for basic survival. When you can climb multiple flights without stopping, you are demonstrating that your heart has margin and reserve, which is what keeps you independent as you age. Theodore is 74 years old and lives in Boston. For years, he avoided stairs entirely because he was afraid of what might happen if he exerted himself. When his doctor encouraged him to try climbing stairs as a test, Theodore was terrified but willing. He climbed 3 full flights without needing to stop. His cardiologist smiled and said that simple tests told him more about the health of Theodore's heart than many expensive diagnostic procedures would reveal. If you can climb 2 or 3 flights at a normal pace without stopping, and your breathing returns to normal within a couple of minutes, your heart is demonstrating real strength. Sign number 3. Your resting heart rate is stable and not too high. A consistent resting heart rate somewhere between 60 and 80 beats per minute indicates that your heart is not working excessively hard just to keep you alive. Your resting heart rate, measured when you have been sitting or lying quietly for several minutes, reflects how efficiently your heart pumps blood. A heart that can maintain adequate circulation without beating excessively fast is a heart that is working efficiently rather than struggling. Harvard Medical School has documented that resting heart rate is a direct indicator of cardiac efficiency. The American College of Cardiology confirms that lower resting heart rates within the normal range generally indicate a heart that pumps blood efficiently with each beat, requiring fewer total beats to accomplish the same work. What you want to see is consistency. Your resting heart rate should be relatively stable from day to day without dramatic, unexplained swings. A resting heart rate that has been stable for years suggests a cardiovascular system that has found its equilibrium. Henrietta is 70 years old and lives in San Diego. She started checking her resting heart rate after reading about its importance and found she consistently measured around 68 beats per minute. When she mentioned this to her doctor, he explained that this number indicated her heart was functioning like an efficient engine rather than an engine that was being forced to work too hard. He described it as a heart that accomplished what it needed without unnecessary strain. Try measuring your resting heart rate first thing in the morning before getting out of bed for 5 consecutive days. Consistency in the 60 to 80 range is an excellent sign. Sign number 4. You sleep through the night without waking up, gasping for breath. If you can sleep through the night without suddenly waking up feeling like you cannot breathe or needing to sit up to catch your breath, this is an important indicator that your heart is pumping adequately. When you lie down to sleep, gravity no longer helps blood return from your legs to your heart. A struggling heart can have difficulty handling this increased return of blood, leading to fluid backing up into the lungs and causing breathlessness that wakes you from sleep. Johns Hopkins Medicine documents that waking up, gasping for breath, medically termed paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, is a classic warning sign of heart failure. The absence of this symptom indicates that your heart is managing the fluid shifts that occur during sleep without becoming overwhelmed. This is different from waking up to use the bathroom, which is normal. What matters is whether you wake up feeling like you cannot breathe, need to gasp for air, or must prop yourself up on multiple pillows just to sleep comfortably. The absence of these specific symptoms is reassuring about your heart's pumping ability. Franklin is 76 years old and lives in Atlanta. He became concerned because he woke up once every night to use the bathroom and worried this might indicate heart problems. His cardiologist carefully explained the difference. Waking to urinate is common and usually harmless in older adults. Waking up suddenly feeling suffocated, needing to sit up or stand to breathe, or being unable to lie flat comfortably, those would be concerning signs. Franklin had none of those symptoms. His heart was handling nighttime just fine. Sign number 5. Your mood is generally stable and positive. This sign surprises most cardiologists when they first learn about it, because it seems completely unrelated to heart function. What could your emotional state possibly have to do with the muscle pumping blood through your body? The connection turns out to be profound, bidirectional, and supported by substantial research. Your heart and your brain are in constant communication, and the health of one affects the other in ways scientists are still working to fully understand. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology has found that positive emotional health is associated with lower levels of cardiovascular inflammation and better endothelial function. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health conducted research showing that optimism is linked to a 35% lower risk of cardiovascular events. This connection works in both directions. A healthy cardiovascular system delivers adequate blood flow to the brain, supporting stable mood, and positive emotional states appear to reduce the chronic stress and inflammation that damage the heart over time. This does not mean you need to be happy every moment. What matters is your general baseline. Do you generally feel interested in life, have energy for activities, and experience moments of contentment? Opal is 71 years old and lives in Denver. During a cardiology appointment, she was surprised when her doctor asked detailed questions about her mood and outlook on life. She asked why her emotional state mattered to a heart doctor. He explained that her consistent optimism and engagement with life told him something about her cardiovascular system that blood tests and imaging could not always capture. The heart-brain connection is real, he said, and your positive outlook is actually a good sign for your heart. Sign number 6. Your ankles and feet are not chronically swollen. Feet and ankles that remain normal-looking throughout the day indicate that your heart is circulating blood efficiently enough to overcome gravity. When you are upright, gravity constantly pulls blood downward toward your feet. A strong heart pumps with enough force to return that blood upward against gravity. When the heart struggles to do this, fluid begins accumulating in the lowest parts of your body, causing visible swelling called edema. The American Heart Association lists chronic edema in the lower extremities as a warning sign of heart failure because it indicates the heart is not pumping blood forward efficiently. The Cleveland Clinic confirms that the absence of chronic swelling is a positive indicator that the heart is maintaining adequate forward flow. It is important to distinguish between chronic, persistent swelling and occasional, temporary swelling. Many people experience some ankle swelling after sitting for long periods, such as during a long flight. That is usually due to position rather than heart function. What cardiologists look for is swelling that is present every day and does not resolve with normal activity. Virgil is 73 years old and lives in Phoenix. After a long flight to visit his grandchildren, he noticed his ankles were swollen and became worried about his heart. His doctor reassured him that temporary swelling after prolonged sitting was normal and expected. What would concern him is if Virgil's ankles were swollen every day regardless of activity. Since Virgil's ankles normally looked fine, his heart was demonstrating adequate pumping power. Look at your ankles right now. If they look normal after a typical day of activity, your heart is doing its job. Sign number 7. You can hold a conversation while walking. The talk test has been used by doctors and exercise physiologists for decades because it provides a simple, practical assessment of cardiorespiratory capacity. If you can walk at a moderate pace and still speak in complete sentences without gasping between words, your heart and lungs are delivering enough oxygen to power both your legs and your speech simultaneously. This requires genuine reserve capacity that a struggling cardiovascular system would not have. The American College of Sports Medicine has validated the talk test as a reliable measure of exercise intensity and cardiorespiratory fitness across all age groups. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that older adults should be able to maintain conversation during moderate physical activity as an indicator of adequate conditioning. When you walk and talk simultaneously, your leg muscles need oxygen, your diaphragm and vocal cords need oxygen for speech, and your brain needs oxygen to form thoughts. If your heart and lungs can supply all these demands at once without you feeling desperate for air, they are performing excellently. Estelle is 69 years old and lives in Chicago. She walks regularly with her granddaughter, and they chat the entire time without difficulty. Her granddaughter once commented that she was impressed her grandmother never got too winded to talk. Estelle had never considered this significant until her doctor explained that her ability to converse while walking demonstrated excellent cardiopulmonary reserve for someone her age. On your next walk, try speaking in complete sentences. If you can do so comfortably without gasping, your heart and lungs are working well together. Sign number 8. Your blood pressure responds appropriately to activity. A blood pressure that rises somewhat during physical activity and then returns to baseline during rest demonstrates that your cardiovascular system is adapting correctly to changing demands. This appropriate response shows that your heart, blood vessels, and nervous system are communicating effectively with each other. Your body knows when to dial things up and when to dial them back down. The Mayo Clinic explains that blood pressure response to exercise is an important indicator of cardiovascular health. The American Heart Association documents that both an inadequate rise in blood pressure during exertion and a failure to decrease after exertion can indicate cardiovascular problems. What you want to see is appropriate variability. Many people become concerned when they see their blood pressure vary throughout the day. But some variation is actually healthy. A blood pressure that never changed regardless of activity would actually be more concerning. What matters is that your pressure returns to baseline when you rest. Bernard is 75 years old and lives in Seattle. He became almost obsessive about checking his blood pressure, and the variations he observed frightened him. His doctor helped him understand that the variation he was seeing was actually healthy. He explained that a cardiovascular system that responds to activity and then recovers is functioning correctly. He would be more concerned if Bernard's pressure were rigid and unchanging, regardless of circumstances. The responsiveness Bernard had been fearing was actually a sign of healthy adaptation. Sign number 9. You have not experienced unexplained fainting. If you have never lost consciousness without a clear explanation, like severe dehydration or extreme heat, this indicates that your heart maintains adequate blood flow to your brain, even during challenging situations. Fainting, medically called syncope, often results from the brain not receiving enough blood momentarily. A heart that keeps you conscious through all the normal variations of daily life is demonstrating consistent, reliable performance. Johns Hopkins Medicine lists unexplained fainting as a cardiac warning sign that warrants thorough investigation. The National Institute on Aging documents that the absence of syncopal episodes in older adults is a positive indicator that the heart is maintaining adequate cerebral perfusion. This is different from occasional lightheadedness when you stand up too quickly, which is common and usually harmless. What matters is whether you actually lose consciousness. Brief dizziness that passes in a few seconds is not the same as fainting. If you have made it through decades without unexplained loss of consciousness, your heart has been reliably delivering blood to your brain. Loretta is 77 years old and lives in Dallas. She mentioned to her cardiologist that she sometimes felt momentarily lightheaded when she stood up too quickly from a seated position. She worried this might indicate heart problems. Her doctor explained the important distinction. Brief lightheadedness when standing quickly is very common and usually results from blood pressure adjusting to the position change. Actually fainting, actually losing consciousness, is different and more significant. Since Loretta had never actually fainted, she had no cause for concern about this symptom. We spend so much time and energy worrying about what might be wrong with our hearts that we often fail to recognize all the evidence that things are working correctly. If you recover quickly after physical effort, can climb stairs without stopping, have a stable resting heart rate, sleep through the night without gasping for breath, maintain a generally positive mood, have ankles that are not chronically swollen, can hold a conversation while walking, have blood pressure that responds appropriately to activity, and have never experienced unexplained fainting, your heart is likely stronger than you have been giving it credit for. These 9 signs do not replace professional medical evaluation, but they can provide reassurance while you continue taking care of your cardiovascular health. How many of these 9 signs do you recognize in yourself? Count them and share the number in the comments, because your answer might help someone else realize they have been worrying unnecessarily about a heart that is actually doing just fine. If this video brought you any peace of mind about your cardiovascular health, hit that like button and share it with a friend or family member who spends too much time anxious about their heart. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based truths about health after 60 that can change how you see your own body and your own capabilities.